What's unfolded? NHL weekly rankings with Eric and Ron. Ron, how are you today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. So a lot has changed since last week.
I'll tell you, last week's top five took it on the chin.
Yeah. So I think we talked about it on Friday on the show that this
Yeah.
week we definitely have some changes. So we definitely saw that. I'll let you get into it whenever you're ready.
Oh, well, okay. So last week, what did we have? Florida, Carolina, Edmonton, Calgary, St. Louis. Starting right out at number five, St. Louis is gone with their horrible 1-2-1 week. Well, nobody really had a great week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so replacing them at number five is the New York Rangers. And I remember a couple of weeks ago saying, watch out for this team. This
You
is
did.
the week.
You did.
This is the week. They went 3-0 this past week.
Yeah. I think they were one of your teams last week that you said potentially had the ability to get in this week.
Absolutely. Look, this is a good team. I mean, they're playing some good hockey. I don't know if they're elite, but if they continue to play the way they are, they're going to get their fair share of a lot of wins. So they had wins. Let me take off my glasses because I can't even read my own writing with them. So the Rangers beat Florida to kick off the week last Tuesday.
Very good win.
Yeah, that was great. And then they beat Columbus and then New Jersey, which is actually a pretty good team. They're an up-and-coming team, but not ready yet. But those are three good wins for New York Rangers to get. Of course, knocking off Florida, who was number one going into the week. And the Rangers, they pulled through. There were several other teams that I looked at. Anaheim, 7-game winning streak.
Wow.
But they're beating, Vancouver, Seattle, a lot of bad teams that they're beating. So it was not good enough to get into this top five. No, by no means. Because I still think Anaheim is a terrible team. So the Rangers make it. Minnesota still on the outside, looking in, even though they're first in their division. But they played more games. We'll just say that. Number 4, Edmonton. Now, they did a good thing this week. For them, not for me, for them. They beat Boston, and they beat St. Louis, who was number 5.
Yep.
But they lost to Detroit and Buffalo.
Oh, wow.
So they went 2-2 on the week, and I know playing 4 games in the week is tough because the Bruins just played 4 in 6 days. So I know how hard it is. But again, they look good, then they don't. So they end up dropping a spot to number 4. And number 3, last week's number 1, Florida. They had a rough week, and I still put them in here because they had 2 overtime losses. So, I mean, they still only have 2 regulation losses. So, I mean, I couldn't drop them out because having one bad week doesn't make them a bad team. Just a bad week.
Yeah, and it happens.
Yeah, so, they lost to the New York Rangers, New Jersey Devils, Pittsburgh in a shootout, and Tampa Bay in a shootout. So it wasn't like they played bad teams. Pittsburgh's kind of bad, but so they lost 4. That's what it comes down to. And I only dropped them 2 spots because they were just playing at such a high level. Number 2, returns.
This was an interesting one to me.
Yeah, and they had a really spectacular week. They return the Washington Capitals. I'm looking at their numbers. They beat Buffalo, Detroit, Columbus, and Pittsburgh. So they went 4-0 this week. So they had a tough 4-game week, and they won every single one of their games, and they deserve to be in there. Like Ovechkin is just playing unreal.
And he moved up to 4th place all time, right?
Yep.
Passing Brett Hull during this week. So
yeah, I actually watched the game where he tied him. If he stays healthy, he's going to break that record.
Yeah, and we debated it several times, but I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, like the team is still good. I know it's an aging team, though. So they are going to have to find some fresh legs to get in there because he's not going to be able to keep up this pace.
Yeah.
But this year, I can see him scoring 40 plus.
Unless he's got Alex Guerrero, Tom Brady's trainer, and
maybe
so that might keep him around.
Maybe he's got the Brady diet, having the avocados and stuff.
Avocado ice cream, yeah.
So Washington deservedly at number 2, they come back in and look. It's like when you look at the elite teams, Washington is supposed to be there. I mean, when you have the best goal scorer in the league.
Yeah.
He's not dethroned yet.
Agreed.
So that leaves number 1. And returning to number 1, they've been flip-flopping with Florida.
Yeah.
They went 2-1 this week. Their loss was to Philly, who's having a pretty decent season. They're playing well. But they beat Tampa Bay and St. Louis. And
St. Louis was again number 5 last week, and
Tampa Bay has been playing well.
So, yeah.
Right, and they've been playing well. Tampa Bay, took a couple of losses this week, so they weren't getting in.
Yeah.
But Carolina's still going. They have an amazing record. They're 11-2. That speed is killing everybody right now, except for when they played Florida, basically. So, I mean, you look at the division leaders, you get Carolina, Florida, Edmonton are all in. Minnesota's the only one that isn't. If they keep playing like they are, they will be. But it's like with Minnesota, they win a couple, then they lose, win a couple, then they lose. So they don't go on a tear, and it's not really high-powered.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what you've done, again, you're the hockey guy, and you follow hockey very closely, but you look at the matchups of who they've beaten. It's not just about winning. It's about which teams they're beating.
Right, because if it was all about, just a win, then Anaheim would be in there.
Yeah.
But it's not, because I don't care. The matchups that they had this week does not match up to what the Rangers did. Rangers have to play Florida.
Yeah.
And got that win. Like, I don't know how you can keep celebrating beating Vancouver and Seattle all season, because that's what they're playing. So, until they beat one of the big boys, they're going to be on the outside. I'm not putting them in until they beat a big boy.
No, makes sense.
So, but there's some teams that are looking good.
Well, hold on a second. Let me bring the list up here, and we can look at. I'm going to bring it up on our Twitter account, and that is currently the top 5 that you had. So at number 5, the New York Rangers. At number 4, the Edmonton Oilers. At number 3, the Florida Panthers. Number 2, the Washington Capitals. And number 1, returning to number 1, the Carolina Hurricanes. So, again, you were just discussing a couple teams that could get in possibly next week would be?
You can look for Minnesota. If they can go flawless next week, they could find themselves in. Another team that's playing well is Winnipeg. And believe it or not, Toronto. Toronto, okay, I almost put in Toronto, and then I said, wait a minute, Rangers went 3-0 this week, or 4-0, whatever it was. And then I looked at the wins. It's like, oh, okay, Rangers have to go ahead. Toronto would have been number 6.
Yeah.
So they're playing well. Again, they're in that. They just came off of a winning streak. And they got a loss this week. So if they keep going 2-1, 2-1, 2-1, it's great for the season, but it ain't going to get them into the top 5. So they gotta string another series of wins together in order to get in there. And Boston, of course,
Boston, you're gonna keep hanging on. You're hanging on to it.
No, well, it's like they showed, like they woke up last night, and the perfection line didn't get them the win. It was Charlie, Charlie Coyle and Charlie McAvoy. They each had a couple of goals, and if Coyle keeps playing like that, that's going to be good for the second line. I still don't know if there's a lot of chemistry between Coyle and Hall. But I think if they keep going, I think it can develop, because they're kind of similar players to holding onto the puck. But again, if they get that second and third line going, they're going to be a force. And we're just waiting for the team to wake up. Gotcha.
So if there was one team on this list, Ron, that you should say should be on alert that they probably won't be on it next week, would there be any particular team? I've seen Edmonton drop pretty consistently the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I would worry about Edmonton and the Rangers. Like the Rangers, to me, I still don't think that they're top 5 team in the league.
Just had a very good week.
They had a good week at the right time because everybody else failed, and they worked themselves up there. Like, do I think they're a top 10 team? Yeah, probably. Maybe number 10 would probably be where they're supposed to be. But if I was Edmonton and the Rangers, I'd watch out, because Edmonton has to worry about Winnipeg, and the Rangers are in a tough division. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
Washington, Philly, Islanders. We haven't even heard of the Islanders this year yet. And they're going to start playing better. I think that's coming too. So you got Tampa Bay and the Islanders, and Winnipeg. Those 3 teams are definitely top 10 caliber teams. It's whether or not they belong in the top 5. That's basically, and maybe Calgary.
Gotcha. So once again, if you enjoy what you've seen tonight, take a peek. Watch us on Friday nights at 6 p.m. when we actually do our entire show, Sports Unfolded. We do it every Friday night at 6 p.m. We're on Rhode Island Broadcasting. We're on Rhode Island Broadcasting on Twitch. So Rhode Island_broadcasting. Subscribe. That way you can't miss us. So really good opportunity. Follow us on social media at Sports Unfolded on Facebook and Twitter, at Broadcasting RI on Twitter, Sports_Unfolded on Instagram. Or if you don't have time to watch, listen to us on our podcast on Amazon, Anchor, Google, and Spotify. So many different ways to watch, listen. We're going to continue to do these each week. Ron, your hockey knowledge is impeccable, and I think fans out there will start to see it the more they watch it and the more they see this list. So I appreciate your time. Sports Unfolded, as always, enjoys this hockey talk because we don't get enough of it. Hockey's making a move, man. They're starting to make their move. TNT, ESPN now, so you get a lot of different ways to watch it.
My advice to people is to simply go to a game. Once you're at the game, it's different. You will love it. Go to a game. Yeah, even if it's minor leagues, go to a game. Yep. It's fun. You'll enjoy it.
Yep. Just say those checks against the board when you're live, man. It's unreal. It's great.
And bring somebody that knows the game, so that way, if you get confused about why they blow the whistle,
you'll understand it.
They'll be able to explain it to you.
And I believe this Friday we'll probably have a little Sidney Crosby conversation about that hit.
Oh yeah.
All right. So I'm looking forward to that as well. So everybody out there, you have a great night. Ron, thank you as always.
No problem.
Dan, peace.
Good night, everybody.